tanta fuerza? ¿De dónde, Marcelinas? ¿De dónde tantas verdades? Me contaron un secreto, son espíritus ancestros, son espíritus tan viejos que les dan fuerza a los cuerpos.
So this is a very special May Day. It's a May Day because it's a special May Day because of the disastrous 100-day policies of Donald Trump. But it's also a hopeful May Day because we are in the process of building a fierce, united coalition in this city. R3 stands for Resist, Reimagine, Rebuild, and we are so proud to be in solidarity with this larger May Day effort. We need to bring folks from all communities in Chicago together. We need to transcend our differences, but we need to forge a principled unity. We understand that we are political family, not the kind of political family that gets you elected or gets you a job, but the kind of political family that shows up when you're under attack. And that's the kind of movement that we're building in Chicago, which is deemed one of the most segregated cities in the country, right? But we're going to transcend that. We're going to transcend that through struggle, through organizing, through mobilizing. Earlier this morning, R3 held a feeder march rally down at Ogden and Roosevelt. And the purpose of that was to talk about the issue of criminalization. We rallied outside the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center, where they cage way too many of our young people. And we want to talk about criminalization as a critical problem, right? To deem undocumented brothers and sisters illegal or criminal. That's criminal, right? For billionaires to give themselves and their cohort tax cuts at the expense of poor and working people is criminal. We are not the criminals. But it's criminalization of our communities, Black, Latino, Asian, Arab. That is the problem. That is what we are organizing against. And we're organizing for, right? We're organizing for jobs, for police accountability, for politicians to be accountable to the communities that they come and make promises to at election time. And we are not going to be divided. We are not going to be distracted. But we're going to build with organized and unorganized workers with Black, Latin, Arab, and Asian communities throughout this city. And we're going to turn around what we see now as a very frightening political reality, but we're going to turn it into a hopeful movement building moment.
So for those of you who don't know, BYP 100 Chicago organizes 18 to 35-year-old Black youth around questions of criminalization, mass incarceration, and divestment from our communities. Since the November election, we have joined the bigger Resist, Reimagine, Rebuild coalition because this moment, this Trump administration, Rauner in Springfield, Rahm here at home, require coalition, require a united front. And our vision of a united front is not one that dissolves our differences. It is not one that makes us all into one melting pot, but one that focuses on the most marginalized members of our community, that centers racism, and that asks us to build bridges between various movements. It is for this reason that we gathered at Ogden and Roosevelt, steps away from the Juvenile Detention Center and the FBI headquarters. From the school to prison pipeline, to the traffic stops that initiate deportation proceedings, to Muslim registries that lasted for over a decade, Black, brown, immigrant, and queer folk are made criminal, while the wealthy and powerful profit from prisons, divestment, and privatization. It is from this set of conditions that we must all resist, reimagine, and rebuild.
My name is Tania Unzueta. I'm undocumented. My entire family is undocumented, and we've continued to organize even after the election through threats, through attacks to our communities, and through the raids. And the question that most people ask us these days is, how are we protecting ourselves and why are we not scared while all of these things are happening as we continue to organize? And for me, today's march is part of the answer to that question. And it didn't happen all by itself, so I want to point out three things that, to me, make this march the place to show off how we've been resisting against those being attacked and targeted by Trump. Number one is that we have continued to defend our community members and family members from the raids. You're about to hear from Selene, who will speak her own story in a minute, but pay attention because Selene's husband, Wilmer, just filed a lawsuit today against Immigration and Customs Enforcement for violently detaining her husband and separating him from their family. Selene and her children are marching here today for Wilmer to be released and to call out the abuse that should not happen to anyone. Number two is that we have asked more from Chicago, a city that calls itself a sanctuary, so that it protects all of its residents. Part of the call today for the march is to demand from the mayor and our city council to make changes to Chicago policy that increase protections not just for immigrants, but also for US-born Chicago residents, particularly those being targeted by the Trump administration. It's important to say that Selene and Wilmer's lawsuit is also against the city of Chicago and against the Chicago Police Department, because the reason that ICE agents ended up breaking into their home is because Wilmer had been placed in the Chicago Gang database. The Chicago Gang database is a database that is full of errors, has no process for people to defend themselves, and in the case of people like Wilmer, can direct ICE agents to people's homes. And number three, we are organizing together across communities and movements because we cannot survive alone. Today, May 1st, is not just a labor rally, not just an immigrant rights rally. We have been working intensely and intentionally to build with other organizations and other movements whose people are also being threatened and attacked by Trump. This is why a group from Resist, Reimagine, Rebuild Coalition, led by Black and brown immigrants and US-born organizers, which includes my mom, marched from the Cook County Detention Facility to here. And we're working together to make sure that we're fighting for a city that is a sanctuary for all of us. So I hope you don't miss those things today, because for me, what makes this march special is not that how we are being attacked, but how we are resisting. We will continue to organize. We will hold our city and the mayor to high standards when it comes to being a sanctuary for all of us. We will fight back against the attacks from immigration agents and police and continue to protect and defend each other.
We gather here from many different places, for many different causes. We may not all agree with one another, but we do agree on this. America can be a better, stronger, more just nation, and we are determined to see that that happens. We are demanding economic justice, and that demand is made by many who are here, but I want to single out in particular the labor organizations who are here today. SEIU, Stronger Together, we're glad that you are with us. Laborers International, thank you for joining us today. United Food Commercial Workers back here, thank you for being here today. So the labor organizations are here for economic justice, to make sure that people are paid a living wage. If you work in America, you should not be in poverty. You should have an opportunity for a good life and for a good life for your children. We also believe as well in criminal justice in this country, to make sure that the arrest and sentencing of Americans follows our values, follows our Constitution, and follows the laws of America. We also believe in immigration justice. I stand before you, my fellow immigrants, as the son of an immigrant mother, a first-generation American who is proud of the diversity of this nation and believe that it makes our strength. When I introduced the DREAM Act 16 years ago, I never believed I'd be standing here today, still begging that the DREAM Act become the law of the land in America. Are you with me on that? And when we find a way for the dreamers, we need to bring their families with them, their mothers, their fathers, those who have lived and worked here in peace and have not caused any problems in the community, deserve their chance. We also demand as well justice when it comes to issues of gender equality and sexual orientation equality as well. That is critically important. Don't get ahead of me. And when it comes to racial equality, America has come a long way, but we have a long, long way to go. We have to dedicate ourselves to working together to end the racial discrimination and inequity in our country. So this much I will tell you. I think somebody's pulling the cord away. I think they're about to replace me. The election of Donald Trump is a challenge to all of us, whether we will stand up and speak up for our values. We saw the Women's March on Washington. We saw the March for Science. We've seen people coming together Now the question is whether we will take this energy and this emotion and translate it into political action. Action to elect men and women who stand up for the values of America. That is our challenge, and that's why we march today and many days to come.
Hi, I'm Kamisha Shepard, and I'm a member of SEIU. I'm from the southwest side of Chicago near Evergreen Park. And believe me, I never thought I'd be here with you, speaking to you today. I am a nursing home worker, a CNA. I take care of people with disabilities in Evergreen Park that can't take care of themselves and need more care than you can offer them at home, whether it's long-term or short-term. I'm so proud to be here with you today and to tell you why me and over 5,000 nursing home workers at 53 nursing homes across Chicagoland have made the hard decision to go on strike. And even prouder to be standing here on their behalf, talking to all of you on such an important day like today. To be honest, I didn't know the history of May Day at all. They don't teach you about this in school, do they? The history of May Day often goes unspoken, but I recognize the impact that it has on us today. I learned that at the heart of this day, back in 1886, was a very simple demand for an 8-hour workday. Workers at this time said they wanted 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, and 8 hours for whatever else they wanted to do. I know that workers struck on May 1st, 1886 for an 8-hour workday, and we have them to thank for the fact that we have that now. But the truth is, most don't have 8-hour days, not really. Take myself for an example. If I didn't work 14 to 15 hours of overtime every single week, I wouldn't be able to make ends meet. I'm not the only one. I don't know a single person in my nursing home that doesn't regularly do overtime to make ends meet. I don't want to do overtime. What I want is what workers wanted back then. Time away from home, from work, time away with my family, or just to myself. I don't want a life that is work and sleep. I deserve better. My child deserves better and more of my time. And so do all of you, all of us. And during this time away from work, you get to feel awake, alive, human, you know? But none of us make enough money to do that anymore. And I'm not just talking about me and my coworkers. I'm talking about fast food workers, about anyone who has a minimum wage job. So I strike, which is an unfair labor practice strike, because they are also breaking the law in a number of ways, is a strike not just for us, but for all of us, who feel like we deserve to be treated like human beings and not wage slaves.
Y'all ready to march? Ready for a revolution? We're ready for revolution. Well, on this historic day for immigrants, for refugees, and for workers, the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights is proud to join the National Day of Resistance with our national partners in the Fair Immigration Reform Movement, whose member organizations have planned over 259 events across the United States in 41 states to show the power and resilience of immigrant and refugee communities in America. This year, May Day has special significance. Since January, immigrant and refugee communities have come under unprecedented attacks from the federal government, from banning millions of people on the outside from entering to criminalizing immigrants inside the country. The White House's racist and Islamophobic policies have terrorized not just those groups targeted, but all of us. Bad news from Washington has not stopped. Just this weekend, we learned that Congress has reached a deal on the federal budget, which gives the White House an additional $1.5 billion to enforce their racist immigration priorities. Our message to Democrats and Republicans alike is clear. We are watching, and we see this collaboration with a White House that wants to further criminalize and separate families appalling and unacceptable. Since January, we have seen the raids on immigrant families escalating. Immigrants have been unlawfully detained and mothers have been ripped from their children. We are calling on our state elected officials to listen to the people gathered here today and to act to protect not only immigrants and refugees, but all our communities. We need you to fully support passing the Illinois Trust Act, which will likely come up for a vote this week. The Trust Act is the single most important safeguard Illinois can enact to help protect our communities against the racist, xenophobic policies of the White House and the U.S. Attorney General. The Trust Act will help keep federal immigration enforcement separate from our local law enforcement, will enact safe zones in our communities, will help immigrant crime victims seek legal assistance, and prevent Illinois from participating in any sort of discriminatory registry. Today we're joining the tens of thousands of people across the country who will demonstrate the power, the resilience, and strength of America in a diverse coalition of people who seek peace and unity. Our communities will not stand for attacks on each other. That's what makes us powerful. Everyone deserves to live in peace. Keeping families together is a human value, and we must defend it with everything that we have.
Some of you may know that this will be my last May Day with you all in Chicago. And I'm sad to no longer be able to participate in this great rally and march. The U.S. government arrested me in a phony immigration charge back in 2013. And because of the racist nature of the justice system in this country, I was forced to accept a plea deal and agree to leave my home of the past 23 years. I remember clearly back in 2006 when we had hundreds of thousands out in the streets in support of workers and immigrants' rights. I'm proud that the immigrant rights movement in this city reclaimed May Day for the rest of the country. Today, 11 years later, it's Trump and other racists in the White House that we are up against when he announced his Muslim ban. The AAA and responded immediately and helped mobilize over 5,000 people to shut down a section of O'Hare Airport that very weekend. The bans were defeated by the mass movement because tens of thousands are in the streets of the U.S. every day, fighting against his agenda of racism, sexism, and national oppression.
I am so humbled to stand here before you on this May Day in the company of such radical visionaries who are fighting for a world in which our communities don't just survive, but thrive. I know that in this political moment, the act of radical imagination is one that seems so far away from us. We live in a world in which multinational corporations get to move freely across borders, where they can aggressively hunt for better profits, and where our people are economically displaced and end up here in the U.S. with only to be further exploited. No human being is illegal. I said no human being is illegal. That's right. But our capitalist economy compels an undocumented workforce it can oppress for its profits. This economy turns our workplaces into sweatshops, where wage theft, discrimination, and unsafe working conditions are the norm, where standing up for your rights can mean losing your job. And when you leave work, you're subjected to the cruelty of the police or immigration, who brutalize our communities for surviving. And it's no surprise given that the rotten core of our capitalist economy is based on chattel slavery and the genocide of Native people. But just like the workers who went on strike here in 1886 for better working conditions, we know that the only way out of this, the crisis of racist capitalism, is to come together in deep solidarity to fight back. Solidarity, woo! Solidarity is a verb, and it requires all of us to build transformative relationships, to harmonize all of our actions across our different struggles, and to throw sand in the gears of everything. When I look out at this crowd, I see a movement of Black, brown, native, immigrant, queer, Muslim, Christian, working class people. It's a beautiful sight, y'all. And I know that we are making a commitment to disobey, to strike, to put the fear back onto the 1%. Today is the day that we are reclaiming our economy from our oppressors. And so from Bangladesh to Palestine to Mexico to here, workers and communities are fighting back. We are resilient, we are strong, we are united, and we will win.
Well, my name is David Turpin, and this is an organization that stands in solidarity with the people of Syria who are being bombed. We think it's a fundamental criticism we have of the American anti-war movement is that it's either ignoring Assad's genocidal tactics or it's actually supporting him. And to support Assad is to support the war on terror, which is the master narrative of imperialist interventions. It's a deep disorientation of the anti-war movement. That's the idea we're trying to raise here today.
The anti-war movement in America right now is very splintered with a binary message of either U.S. imperialism or Russian imperialism. And what we need in an anti-war movement is to stand with the revolution in Syria, stand with the self-emancipation of people in North Korea, and be against both U.S. imperialism, Russian imperialism, and Assadist imperialism. That is the direction we need to stand with the people, not the government, standing with the people in the revolutions for self-emancipation of the working class. And that's the message we're trying to put forward with a growing anti-war movement here in America.
The United States has been at war in the Middle East for decades. Under Obama, the previous administration, Democratic administration, we bombed 7 countries with covert operations, military operations, and actually hundreds of other countries. This aggression, this warfare, cannot be detached from a fundamentally aggressive and demeaning response to the people of the Middle East, to black and brown people around the world, that sees the domination of U.S. corporate power over the black and brown masses of the global South. That's a crucial part of the corporate dominance of the United States, which is the same powers, the same brute force that is brought into our police forces, the military gear that's brought into our police forces, and then also the corporate power that's used against workers, that's used against undocumented people. This is our enemy is the same. It's the concentrated power of the wealthy who control most of the vast majority of wealth on the planet. 8 people control as much wealth as the bottom 50. And today on our march, we wanted to make that point, that working people need to stand up against war, stand up against aggression against black and brown people across the world. And we did a die-in outside the Mexican consulate, calling for not only solidarity with Mexican people struggling against their government, but Syrian people struggling against Bashar al-Assad, Russian people dealing with the oppression of Vladimir Putin and his aggression in Syria and the Middle East. And of course, Obama, Clinton, and Trump, who have initiated and continued these wars that began under George W. Bush.
Hello, Chicago! Happy May Day! Make some noise, come on! At Planned Parenthood, we believe that healthcare has no borders, and the ability to access healthcare is a basic human right. We believe that economic rights and healthcare rights, workers' rights and women's rights, GLBTQ rights and immigrant rights are all human rights. Planned Parenthood centers are proud to provide high-quality care to everyone, period. Economic injustice is interconnected to all forms of injustice, including reproductive justice. If women aren't able to access the full range of healthcare, they aren't able to succeed in the workplace. Working families, immigrants, refugees are all a vital part of the Planned Parenthood community. They are our patients, our volunteers, our activists, our supporters, our clinicians, and our staff. Federal law already blocks many immigrants from accessing private and public health care coverage, and harsh immigration enforcement makes it difficult for communities to seek out health care or raise their families without fear. At Planned Parenthood, we believe that all people deserve the highest quality of care, no matter who they are, where they live, who they love, where they work, or where they are from. Our doors are open to everyone, regardless of immigration status. Today, while we march in the streets, while we're here with our allies and our supporters, Planned Parenthood Health Center's doors will stay open and continue to provide affordable health care to anyone who walks through our doors, because we are here for our patients no matter what. And I will just leave you with a quick quote because I'm already feeling drops of rain coming down. So I'll leave you with the words of Manal al-Sharif. The rain begins with a single drop. Each one of us has a single voice, one drop. But we are going to rain down on the Trump administration. Thank you.
Me contaron un secreto, son espíritus ancestros, son espíritus tan viejos que les dan fuerza a los cuerpos.